Well, Walmart is raising its full forecast for the year after topping earnings in its latest quarter, but the company is also warning that prices will have to rise. For more, we're joined by BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscay to talk about it. Lindsay, thanks as always for joining us. Walmart's making some interesting moves.
There's a couple of different interesting moves and news coming out of this third quarter release today. So we'll start with just the numbers to begin with. It was a strong quarter for Walmart. I think that's the news they want people to focus on for the most part, is a strong quarter, raising its annual outlook for the year, as you mentioned, with net sales expected to rise 4.8% or to 5.1%. Revenue was up 6%. That's $179 billion. That's up from $177 that was predicted by analysts. Same-store sales was up. Foot traffic even was up going into Walmart. So all around a good news scenario for the third quarter for Walmart. But yeah, the company is warning that sales are going to have to, or the cost of things really, the prices are going to have to rise. And that is for the most part because of tariffs. Walmart, like so many other companies, has been absorbing the cost of tariffs for most of this year, and trying to source products from elsewhere when they get too expensive, working with suppliers to try to keep prices low. But the CFO was saying that prices are going to be rising in the new year because, as we've heard so many CEOs from different companies say, yes, they have been absorbing the cost of the tariffs, but they can only do that for so long.
And they bought ahead a lot and things like that.
Exactly.
And now they're running out.
That's exactly it. So that they had inventory from before the tariffs that weren't, priced with tariffs in mind. That inventory, as you say, running out. And so as they restock, it's going to come with a bit of a higher price in the new year.
Have they hinted what the prices might be?
They haven't hinted exactly what the prices might be, but they just say, there's a rise in costs, and they're going to try to keep that cost down as much as possible. But many companies are saying they can't do that forever in the meantime.
All right. And the other interesting, sorry, you have
no. That was
okay. The other interesting thing, they're moving over to the NASDAQ.
Yes, this is the other interesting news. Moving over to the NASDAQ and expected to start trading on the NASDAQ by December 9th with the current ticker symbol still in place. New York Stock Exchange maybe not incredibly happy with this news. You can see the Walmart stock there today.
Yep.
But this is a move that clearly shows the company wants to focus more on tech. No surprise, Walmart is another company incorporating AI into its platforms, teaming up with OpenAI and ChatGPT. So you can basically buy products through ChatGPT. And this really shows a focus when it comes to tech. Walmart has really been trying to ramp up their e-commerce shopping, and it's basically 20% up across the board on all markets. And when you think of Walmart, of course, you think of like good prices, great value is their brand. And they do still have those kind of better value items, but they're really trying to start marketing themselves toward a higher clientele, especially with their e-commerce kind of third-party shopping platform. So basically one example that I saw today that I could not believe is that you can actually maybe through that third-party platform,
I know what you're going to say,
buy pre-owned Chanel bags.
Yes, I couldn't believe when I saw that.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, but that's how things are changing. And part of that also is, unfortunately, the CEO of Walmart said that they anticipate a slowdown when it comes to low-income shoppers, which has been such a big part of their market for the past couple of years. But low-income shoppers obviously not able to spend the same way that middle-class and upper-class shoppers are able to spend. And so Walmart really trying to readjust their clientele. We did speak with one analyst today who was talking a little bit more about how Walmart is trying to kind of appeal to everyone. Take a listen.
They're resonating across all income cohorts. The higher income, they've been gaining share for a while, and it's still doing really well. But even among the lower income, they're responding to the 7,400 rollbacks they're doing, really focusing on affordability on food and convenience and pushing across the entire organization from digital to in-store remodels, et cetera.
So for people who still want to go to Walmart, get their groceries, like you still can, and things should be reasonably priced, I guess. Grocery business still accounts for about 60% of U.S. sales. So Walmart keeping that in mind, but obviously really trying to expand elsewhere as well.
Okay. And Arkansas becoming a new tech hub?
Maybe.
Oh, interesting. All right. Lindsay Biscay, thank you for that. BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscay. Now, for more on Walmart's results and future plans, let's bring in Zhihan Ma, Senior Analyst for U.S. Retailing at Bernstein. Zhihan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You heard us talking about Walmart and the year that was and the year that is shaping up. Let's get your initial thoughts on their earnings report.
Yeah, I would say there were actually some concerns going into today, especially given the broader consumer jitters, given the news that Doug McMillon, long-term CEO at Walmart, he announced that he was going to step down at the beginning of next year. That announcement came out last Friday. And people were trying to triangulate what does this all mean in terms of their reporting come this week. Of course, the stakes were high, and I think the market collectively breathed a sign of relief when they put out a pretty strong beat and raise this time around, and you were seeing that strong reaction in the stock price today.
But they did temper it, though, with what might lie ahead, the increased prices. How much of a concern is that?
I would say, well, overall, it's market-wide, right? With the tariff situation, prices will have to go up. We're seeing inflation, broadly speaking, going up. Now, the difference and the nuance there is that Walmart is taking prices less than overall headline CPI inflation, right? So their like-for-like inflation in their U.S. various category and segments are in the very low single digit, just over 1% range, versus overall CPI inflation in the around 3% range. So what that means is that Walmart is actually among the more proactive in terms of selectively investing in pricing, and that's enabled by their second P&L, the high margin alternative revenue streams like retail media, membership, that gives them more flexibility, more flexibility in the profit line to reinvest in pricing. And that's also widening their price gap versus competition, which supports this whole share gain flywheel.
And I want to talk about, Lindsay and I were just talking about that. We're both fascinated by the fact that their online sales, they're trying to grow that, everybody is, but also that secondary market, the third seller market, and the fact they're offering like high-end bag Chanel purses and things like that. Is this a future they see for Walmart? Can they see that becoming a bigger portion of their sales?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the 3P marketplace is very much an integral part of this whole e-commerce flywheel. And I do think it's a critical component of how they're appealing more to the middle to high income consumers, right? Historically, Walmart have benefited a lot in times of crisis when middle to high income consumers would trade down to Walmart purely for value. And then they'll trade back up when the economy recovers. In today's environment, you're seeing Walmart appealing to those consumers on a more structural basis, right? There's better in-store experience. There's a much more broader assortment on the 3P marketplace, and they're trying to turn around almost a cultural perception that Walmart is no longer this rundown grocery store. It actually can have higher end brands. I don't know if it's going to sustainably have Chanel on the 3P marketplace, but in that direction, right? More prestige, more mass premium brands on Walmart to turn around how people think about what Walmart stands for. And that opens up a much bigger TAM for them to appeal to.
And I just want to ask one last question about their move to the NASDAQ. Your thoughts on that?
I think to your earlier comments, it's very much Walmart seeing themselves as a tech company with a lot of the not just the e-commerce, but also the agentic AI, the partnership they're having with OpenAI. They're very, very much integrated into that future trajectory. I think it also helps from a retail ownership perspective, right? The Invesco QQQ fund, for example, now that I would imagine they can be part of, Costco to date is the biggest non-tech top 11 holdings in that space right now. And Walmart could potentially participate in that upside as well.
Okay, Zhihan, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Zhihan Ma is a senior analyst of U.S. retailing broadlines and hardlines at Bernstein.